Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the wild world of international trade, a realm where decisions made in one country can send shockwaves around the globe. We're talking about tariffs, those pesky little taxes on imported goods that can change the entire landscape of an industry. Specifically, we're looking at the auto tariffs slapped on by the former president himself, Donald J. Trump. These tariffs were a significant part of his economic strategy. You see, Trump aimed to make America a manufacturing powerhouse again, and he saw these tariffs as the key to reviving the American industrial spirit. The idea was simple: make foreign cars more expensive, and Americans would flock to buy American-made vehicles instead. It was a move to protect domestic jobs and industries. It's a classic case of buy American, support American, right? The slogan resonated with many who felt left behind by globalization. Well, as with most things in life, the reality is a tad more complicated. The auto industry is a complex ecosystem with many moving parts. The global economy is a tangled web, and tugging on one thread can have ripple effects you might not expect. Supply chains are interconnected, and changes in one area can impact many others. So, tonight we're taking a closer look at these auto tariffs and their impact. We'll explore how these policies have shaped the industry and what it means for consumers and workers alike. To do that, we're going to use a true American icon as our case study, the Ford F-150 pickup truck. This vehicle is not just a mode of transportation, it's a symbol of American manufacturing. We'll see how these tariffs affect not only the price of your next truck, but also the livelihoods of countless workers in the auto industry. From the factory floor to the dealership, every step of the process is influenced by these economic policies. And it's not just about the workers, it's about the consumers too. How do these tariffs impact the choices available to you and the prices you pay at the dealership? We'll hear from economic analysts and industry experts who will break down the data and provide insights into the broader implications of these tariffs. So, stay tuned as we unravel the story of Trump's auto tariffs and their far-reaching effects on the American car industry. It's a tale of policy, economics, and the enduring spirit of American innovation. Now, tariffs aren't inherently good or bad. They're a tool, and like any tool, they can be used effectively or not so much. It all depends on how, when, and why they're implemented. In the realm of economic policy, tariffs can serve as a double-edged sword. They can protect domestic industries from foreign competition, but they can also lead to unintended consequences. Take, for instance, the Trump administration's decision to impose a 25% tariff on imported steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum. The rationale behind this move was to shield American jobs and industries from what was perceived as unfair foreign competition. The administration argued that these tariffs would revitalize American manufacturing, particularly in the steel and aluminum sectors, thereby safeguarding jobs and boosting the economy. On paper, this sounds like a solid plan. Protecting domestic industries should, in theory, lead to more jobs and a stronger economy, but the reality is often more complex.
Here's where things get a bit more complicated. The automotive industry, for example, is not straightforward. Building a car involves thousands of parts, each with its own supply chain. Unlike baking a cake, where you simply mix ingredients, car manufacturing requires a highly intricate process. Each component must meet specific standards and come from various suppliers around the globe. This global supply chain means that parts are sourced from multiple countries, making the industry highly interconnected and interdependent. And this is where the tariffs on steel and aluminum create complications. The increased costs of these raw materials ripple through the entire supply chain.
Those tariffs on steel and aluminum, they didn't just magically make American steel and aluminum the cheapest option. Instead, they raised the prices of these materials across the board. As a result, the cost of steel and aluminum increased, regardless of whether it was produced domestically or imported. This price hike affected every industry that relies on these materials. The global steel market felt the impact, with prices rising internationally. This meant that American companies couldn't escape the higher costs, even if they sourced materials locally. For American car manufacturers like Ford, this translated to higher production costs. Even if they used American-made steel and aluminum, the overall market prices had gone up, squeezing their profit margins and potentially leading to higher prices for consumers. This, in turn, could make American cars less competitive in the global market, as higher production costs often lead to higher retail prices. Consumers might turn to cheaper foreign alternatives, undermining the very industries the tariffs were meant to protect. So, while the intention behind the tariffs was to bolster American industry, the actual outcome is far more nuanced. It's a classic example of how economic policies can have far-reaching and sometimes unexpected consequences. As policymakers continue to navigate the complexities of global trade, it's crucial to consider both the immediate and long-term effects of tariffs. Balancing protectionism with the realities of a globalized economy is no easy task. In the end, the story of tariffs is a reminder that in our interconnected world, actions in one part of the economy can have ripple effects that touch every corner of the globe. Let's break it down using our trusty F-150. This iconic American truck, often seen as a symbol of American manufacturing might, is actually a global citizen. Sure, it's assembled in America, but its parts come from all corners of the globe.
The engine might be made in the USA, but the transmission could come from Mexico. Those fancy leather seats, maybe they're sourced from Canada. And the electronics, well, those could be coming from various Asian countries.
The point is, a modern car is like a United Nations summit on wheels. This globalized approach to manufacturing isn't some accident or a conspiracy to ship American jobs overseas. It's about efficiency, cost-effectiveness, and utilizing the strengths of different regions. And it's not just Ford, it's the entire auto industry.
Not so fast. The idea of bringing auto manufacturing back to the US sounds appealing, but it's fraught with complexities. So the Trump administration's plan to bring auto manufacturing back to the US by slapping on tariffs? It's a bold move, but is it practical?
Well, it's not as simple as flipping a switch. The intricacies involved in such a massive shift are often underestimated. You can't just pick up a complex global supply chain that's been decades in the making and transplant it to the US overnight. The global supply chain is a finely tuned machine with each part playing a crucial role.
First off, you need the infrastructure. You need factories, skilled workers, and the entire ecosystem that supports large-scale manufacturing. This isn't something that can be built overnight. The entire ecosystem includes not just the factories, but also the logistics, the transportation networks, and the suppliers of raw materials and components. It's a vast and interconnected web. Building that from scratch takes time, money, and a whole lot of effort. We're talking about years of planning, billions of dollars in investment, and a coordinated effort across multiple sectors.
Then there's the issue of cost. The financial implications of such a move are enormous. It's not just about the initial investment, but also the ongoing operational costs. Sure, you might be able to manufacture everything in the US, but can you do it at a price that makes those cars competitive? The cost of labor, materials, and compliance with regulations can drive up prices significantly.
Remember, consumers care about their wallets. They want value for their money, and if they can get a similar product for less, they will. If a tariff-laden American-made car costs significantly more than a comparable foreign car, many people will opt for the cheaper option. Price sensitivity is a major factor in consumer decision-making.
And that brings us to the heart of the issue, the economic impact of these tariffs. The ripple effects can be far-reaching, affecting not just the auto industry but the broader economy as well. Tariffs can lead to trade wars, increased costs for consumers, and strained international relations. Policymakers need to weigh these factors carefully. The goal of boosting domestic manufacturing is noble, but the path to achieving it is complex and fraught with challenges. It's a delicate balance between protecting local industries and maintaining global trade relationships. Ultimately, the future of auto manufacturing may lie in innovation and technological advancements. Embracing new technologies and finding more efficient ways to produce can help make domestic manufacturing more viable and competitive on the global stage. Here's the thing about tariffs, folks. They're essentially a tax on consumers. When you slap a tariff on imported steel, those higher costs get passed down the line. They go to the manufacturers who use that steel, and eventually they trickle down to you, the consumer, in the form of higher prices.
So that shiny new F-150 you've got your eye on? Well, thanks to those tariffs, it just got a whole lot more expensive. And it's not just cars. Remember, steel and aluminum are used in a whole bunch of products, from washing machines to beer cans. Those prices went up too.
Now, the Trump administration argued that these price hikes were a small price to pay for the long-term benefits of bringing manufacturing back to America. But was it really a price worth paying?